Better DJ bring it back, tell them play that shit again, tell them turn up the bass. DJ turn it up, better DJ bring it back, tell the DJ turn it up, better DJ bring it back.
Okay guys, in today's video I hope to answer some long awaited questions, and I mean I've had these questions myself since the beginning of Metro, but I knew to get to the answer was going to take a lot of work. One of my questions was, how many actual hits from an MK14 does it take to knock a level 6 vest of any type? You know, whether it's a brown vest or whether it's a one-eyed cobra or whether it's a steel front. And also,
I have several questions.
Are the damages different? Is one vest better than the other? Does different types of vests react differently to different types of ammo from the MK14? I'm hoping to answer all these questions. But also, you know, I reached out to an old contact over in PUBG Mobile and I asked him, and he, you know, this guy's pretty high up in the chain, so I figured he could get me this information. But he quickly told me after about a week and a half that that info was a hard order to fill, and he said that the devs were basically not willing to give me the ammo or to give me the answer. So I was like, was this a closely guarded secret or what? Maybe they didn't want us to know because maybe some of the damages are the same, or even a gimmick. Are there differences in the vests and helmets? We don't know. We don't know. Well, today in this video, I hope to answer this and be able to tell you if there's a better helmet or vest, or if it's more complicated than that. Now, first of all, we had to conduct these tests in a scientific/surgical environment and under the same conditions to get the results. So we set some guidelines to do these tests. The first thing that we eliminated was all the variables such as boosts, attachments, and sniper talents, because these obviously add damage and advantage. And sometimes if you're doing boost, maybe you don't get it right, and we don't want that. We're going to test that too probably eventually, so let's do it without it. So the first thing, like I said, we eliminated these, and that way the results will just show how the vests perform themselves with no advantage. Now there's, like I said, no attachments, no sniper talents, no boost. So we started testing with all types of ammo, but as we went along we trimmed it down to meta ammo as these tests took a long time to conduct, and we were all getting ready to get a conclusion to these tests, because guys, look, it's not easy. We had to search two different teams trying to search and get into the same game. Then we had to get somewhere safe to conduct these tests, so we had to kind of fight our way while trying not to take too much damage, because obviously some of the tests we needed all of our vests undamaged, so it was a little complicated, and we did it. But it was tough, not gonna lie. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna have a special thanks to a bunch of people that helped me do this, by the way. So there will be a total spreadsheet with all the results, because I'm not going to show all that in the video. I'm just going to skip to the meta ammo, if you will. High explosive, toxic, and emulating. Those are basically meta ammo, right? So let's get started, because we all want to know which helmet and armor are the best against the MK14. The results will blow your mind, or maybe have you scratching your head. So let's get into the test results. Alright guys, so like I said, in the beginning of testing we tested with the intact MK as well as all ammunition types, but I'm going to stick to refined MK for these results, and just because I already have it in this form, I'm going to go ahead and show you the lower types of ammunition, the hits to knock, which is HTK, and the damage. As you'll see here, corroded ammunition with a refined MK took 10 to knock. That's a lot. 792 damage. The normal ammunition took 8 to knock with 786 damage, and with polished, which a lot of people used, it took 7 to knock with 821 damage to the vest. All right, let's move on. All right guys, let's get into the meta ammunition: high explosive, emulating, and toxic. Now you'll see 2 emulating on here. That is with effect, and so what we did is we fired one at a time, one round at a time, let the fire die down before we fired the next round. That's not really practical, but we tested it anyway. We were curious to see if there were any result differences. But anyway, let's get into it. High explosive, it took 5 to knock. It did 673 damage. It's a little bit less damage if you look at it, guys, because it took less hits to knock. So yeah, pay attention to that. Emulating took 6 to knock with 771 damage, and emulating with effect took 5 to knock. And I know you're thinking, oh man, that's right with high explosive. It is, but like I said, this is with a controlled environment and with slowly tapping and letting the effect take in. So it does knock. The damage was the same, nothing changed. And toxic, it took 7 to knock. So toxic is definitely the weakest ammo right here, as you see. It took more than all of them to knock, and also it did more damage because you had to be shot more. So the vest was damaged more. So it did the most damage, but it took the most hits to knock. All right, so let's move on. So now we're going to look at the one-eyed cobra, and guys, I'm sticking just to meta ammo on this one. So it took 5 high explosive to knock. It did 674 damage. It took 7 emulating, and it did 901 damage. With emulating with effect, it took 5, but like I said, that's really impractical, but we did it anyway. It did 732 damage, and toxic, it took 7 once again with 821 damage, and that's one-eyed cobra results against the MK14 refined. All right, we're getting into the steel front. Don't worry, I know a lot of you guys love steel front. So with high explosive, it took 6 to knock, 808 damage to the vest. Emulating, it took 6 to knock, 784 damage to the vest. Kind of strange, but hey, whatever, I'll go with it. With effect, emulating with effect, it took 5 to knock, 784 damage, which was the same. We noticed that pattern quite a bit, actually. And with toxic, once again, it took 7 to knock with 821 damage. So, interesting numbers. Let's move on. All right, for those interested, here is the spreadsheet with all the testing that we done on it. It has the intact info. It has all the different ammo types information on there on the vest only. But don't worry, we're going to break all these numbers down, and we're going to actually find out which vest performed the best. And then stay tuned, guys, because we got helmets too. So let's get into it. So based on the results of the vest testing, I have some results, and maybe we can find the best overall vest against high explosive ammunition. The steel front vest took more to knock, but it took more damage. The brown and the one-eyed cobra vest almost performed the same. Both took around 5 to knock. The damage was roughly 763, which is 135 less damage than the steel front vest. But me, I want to get hit one more time to knock. So, you know, the steel front vest wins easily on this against high explosive. Now let's look at emulating and see how the vests stack up and if there's a difference in performance based on my results. The one-eyed cobra took more to knock at 7, but it took more damage at 901. The steel front and brown took 6 to knock, but look at it took less damage. I think due to the less hits, obviously, to knock. So the clear winner is the one-eyed cobra against emulating ammo. Interesting, huh? Well, that's pretty interesting indeed to me. We have 2 different winners for 2 different types of ammunition. Well, let's see if toxic ammo will do. Let's see what it'll do, and if there's a clear winner there too as well. So this one had me blown away. All the vests took the exact same 7 to knock with 821 damage. So there's the thing that maybe they don't want us to know. Maybe. So let's compare the 2 winners of the other type ammunition and see if one stands out. So this opinion will be controversial, I'm sure, but I'm purely looking at the data, guys. So we had 2 different winners, guys, in 2 different ammunition type categories, if you will. We had the steel front and we had the one-eyed cobra. Now let's look at the overall results together, and let's see if we can pick out a winner of the 2 just based on the data. So when you look at the data, guys, the one-eyed cobra had a huge difference in hits to knock, against emulating an HE. It also had a 227 more in damage in one than the other, when the steel front vest performed exactly the same against both ammunition types. So based on that, I would give the steel front the nudge and say it's the best overall vest compared to all of them. So, that's just my opinion, obviously. Now, let's figure out this helmet thing, and let's see how they stack up against the MK14 and if there's a clear winner there. So in this test, we only test meta ammo, meaning high explosive emulating toxics and toxic 7.62 ammo. So let's get into the results already, right? All right, guys, with your regular brown vest, if you will, it took 3 high explosive to knock. It did 929 damage. Your emulating, it did 3 to knock with 539 damage. Emulating with effect took 3 to knock with 539 damage. And toxic, it took 3 to knock with 809 damage. So it actually, toxic performed okay against heads. The one-eyed cobra took 3 hits to knock against high explosive with 930 damage. Emulating, it took 3 to knock, 766 damage. Emulating with effect, it took 4 to knock, which was unusual. At 809 damage, you had a separation in hits to knock and with damage, so that's a weird inconsistency. Toxic, it took 3 to knock with 809. Alright, and last but not least, the steel front against high explosive took 3 to knock with 684. Emulating, it took 3 to knock with 810 on the damage. With effect, it took 4 to knock, which once again, it took more to knock with 852 damage. We had separation and damage again. And with toxic, it took 3 to knock at 810 damage, which is the same as emulating. Alright, for those interested, this is the overall results of our testing. And note in here, there is one fabled steel front helmet with thickened material that we tested, but I did not put in the video. We were a little slacking in the fabled category. In the high explosive category, there was a clear winner, and it was the steel front. It took 3 to knock, and the damage of the helmet was only 684. The next closest helmet damages was 929. That's a whopping 245 in difference of damage. All helmets took 3 to knock, so you can see this one was easy. Now, let's check out the winner of the emulating category. So this one was a huge surprise because it wasn't the one-eyed cobra or the steel front, but it was the regular brown helmet. It took 3 to knock, and the damage was 559, which was 229 difference to the next closest helmet. The steel front performed the absolute worst against emulating at 810 damage. So did that surprise you? Well, there's more. Let's get into the toxic ammo and see how it stacked up. As you remember, the results for the vest were the same. And it's the same, give or take 1 for the helmets. It's 3 to knock and 809 to 8010 damage. So it's a tie, basically. There's no clear winner. Gimmick? Question mark. So let's look at the clear winners and let's see which is the best against high explosive and emulating from the MK14. Hopefully it kind of matches up to the armor test, but who knows? We already know the one-eyed cobra isn't in the running, so the results will definitely be a shocker, I'm sure. So the brown regular helmet and the steel front are the two we're going to compare. So let's get into these numbers, shall we? The steel front helmet took 3 to knock and had a damage difference of 126 between the two types of ammo. The brown helmet took 3 to knock and had a damage difference of 390, which is huge. And based on these numbers alone, I would award once again the steel front as the overall best helmet in the game. So the next time you see a steel front coming at you in your next game of Metro, just put a couple extra bullets in him because he has the best vest and helmet in the game, so technically has a little bit of advantage, if you will. Sorry we didn't test any Fabled Vest, as we didn't have any in our group this chapter. If you would like to see more testing of Fabled Vest and you have some, hit me up in our Discord and donate them to science. Also, you can help with the testing and we'll give them right back to you. It doesn't matter. Most of these are done in controlled areas. We'll go to map 1 and we'll defend a house and whatever. It won't get lost. Well, maybe. Also, if you're interested in joining our testing team, join our Discord, hit me up, and we'd love to have more, as there are always more questions to be answered. I've got another question for you guys. Would you like me to test if attachments do anything, or are they just a gimmick? Let me know in the comments. Please share this with anybody you know that plays Metro and tell them to subscribe for more Metro Royale content. Once again, special thanks goes to Elite, Press, Doremi, the Almighty, Warlord, 911, and Jackson, and Purple. Yeah, that's a mouthful, but thanks guys.